Okay, so let's see. We showed how to interact. Excuse me. How to interact with the application through URLs, posting, getting, putting, deleting, but certainly you'll want to be able to interact using some kind of a user interface, presumably on a web, or it could be a phone, or it could be a desktop. But nevertheless, you'll always need to make some kind of HTTP request to interact with the data on the server. So let's create a client application to be able to do that. So first, let's we can host that client here in the web app portion here of the application. We have an index page. Let's see what that index page have. Okay, so that index page, there's nothing in there. It just says hello. Let's see if we can hit it. If we go to localhost 8080 and we say index, notice that there's that hello. Right? Notice that this is human consumable content. Right? It is meant to be consumed by humans. It has a font, it has whatnot. It's some layout, as opposed to everything that starts with API. API is meant to be consumed by non-humans. Right? So let's create that non-human that can consume that content programmatically. In this case, we have just hello. So we'll do it using a jQuery, but certainly you can use other user interfaces, other technologies. I have here a document that I'm going to make available to everybody that documents how to do it using Angular, React, and jQuery. jQuery is by far the easiest. But it's also the most low-level way of interacting with this. I would say jQuery is the easiest, but the most low-level. Very little abstraction. Then you have React, has quite a bit of abstraction, but also has a much larger learning curve, but not as bad as Angular. Angular has the highest level of abstraction, but also has the highest learning curve. I don't really care what you use. But they're documented in this document. I will make it available. Let's use some of this that we already have here. So let's just create here. Just create a directory where we can work on our lecture. So we have a lecture folder, lectures. And this is the lecture on interacting with movies. So let's lecture movies. And let's create here an index page. I'm just going to copy this one. And I'm going to put it in there. And in here, we're going to open it up. I'm going to say movies. I'm going to save that. And let's make sure that we can retrieve that. We can hit that. So that's let's see, we have lectures, movies, index. Okay, so we're there. We're in that HTML page. We'll need a couple libraries. In this case, we'll need a jQuery library. So I'm just going to copy this script here, and I'm just going to paste it here in our head. So this is going to download jQuery 331, okay, and it's going to make it available. It's going to instantiate a single object, the jQuery object, which is going to allow us to do all sorts of cool things. Also here, we have another script that we're declaring a local app.js that needs to be, according to this, needs to be in the same directory as our index page. So let's create that. So under here, we'll create app.js as well. Do we have JavaScript here? No. Other, so that's JavaScript source file. So we'll call it app.js. There it is. And just to see that if jQuery is installed, we will use the jQuery object. And the jQuery object is declared globally by this by this script. This script downloads the library from jquery.com. There it is. It's minified, and it declares one single object, the jQuery object. Well, jQuery function. Well, it's in jQuery, objects and functions are interchangeable. You can treat them as either or. So anyway, this function here, jQuery is a very powerful function, object function. Depending what you pass it as an argument, it behaves in different ways. If you pass it the name of a function, what it does is that it waits until the whole document is loaded, and once the document is loaded, it will notify you by calling the function that you tell it. In this case, right? In this case, it's init. So once the document loads up, it notifies you by calling the function that you pass as an argument. So in that function, we're just going to do an alert, hello from jQuery. So if we reload our hello, notice that it says hello from jQuery. It knows that the document has been loaded. Yes? Everybody okay? Right? All right. So here in init, we know that the document has been loaded. We can start manipulating the document. That's what jQuery does. jQuery is a library that allows you to manipulate the HTML document. Allows you to dynamically add things to the document, remove things from the document, retrieve values, go and fetch data from a network, retrieve it, and then render it on the page. Very, very low level. Very low level. But it's the easiest, has the least learning curve. All right, so what do we want to do? Let's see. We want to go and fetch data. All right, let's do that. Let's go fetch data. That's easy. That's very, very easy in jQuery. We need the URL that we want to fetch it from. Var the URL is, what is it? Let's see. From our Postman, we want to retrieve all movies. That's the URL that we're going to use. Okay, I'm going to just copy that. Oops. Copy. There it is. That's the URL. And we want to generate a GET request. That's also very easy. We're going to say $jQuery dot Ajax. Ajax is a function on the jQuery object. Again, jQuery can be treated as a function or an object. It has a function in there that allows you to generate a synchronous Java API for XML. Go fetch dynamic content over the web. We need to pass in an object that configures it. One of those attributes of that object is the URL from where we're going to go fetch the data from. What the URL we're going to use is the value of that variable called URL. Then we also can pass in a success function that will notify us when the data comes back from the server. And so we'll pass in a function called render movies, a function that doesn't exist. We'll create that function. Function render movies. And for now, the only thing we're going to do is that here's the response coming from the server, and we're just going to print it out to the console. That's it. That's all we need to go fetch data from the network. Let me save this. So let's refresh. It didn't do much. Let's see. We can look at the console, inspect it, and notice that it comes back with an array of 2 objects. That's the array that came back from the server, but now it's on the browser. Right? The browser retrieved it, and we have the 2 objects here on the browser. Right? This is the inspect, the console for the browser, and we want to render this. We want to render, put it on the screen. Right? This is we can actually look at the network access here. Right? If we refresh, where's refresh? We do refresh. We can see the query going out. There it is. That's the query. You see the header, there's a GET going out to the API movie. Here's the response that came back from the server. This is the raw ASCII that came back from the server. Here's parsed the 2 objects with the 2 movies. Does this make sense? Let me just go over that real quick. Let's review this, right? So jQuery init, says wait for the document to load. Once the document has loaded, call the init function. The init function gets called, declares a local variable called URL, right? And then it uses the method, the function Ajax that is declared on the jQuery object, right? And it takes as argument an object. That's what the squiggly lines here say. This is an object that has two name-value pairs, right? So here's the first name-value pair, and here's the second name-value pair. The first name-value pair is the name of the attribute of some object of the object, and then the value, the name and the value. So this object is an argument to the Ajax function. The Ajax function looks at this object and says, okay, you want me to use this URL, and once the data comes back from the server, I will notify you by calling this function. Okay? What this function does is that it generates an asynchronous communication, asynchronous network communication to the server. Ajax itself, JavaScript all by itself cannot do this, right? It needs to rely on the browser. The browser knows how to open up any number of HTTP requests, right? The browser can download a whole bunch of images and download a whole bunch of CSS files and download a whole bunch of JavaScript, and it can make, but JavaScript itself can't. So what this Ajax call does is that it asks the browser, say, hey browser, can you please go and fetch this for me, right? And since I can't do this, can you please notify me when you're done, when you have when you get a response? And here's where we are notifying, we're telling the browser, hey, notify us by calling this function. This is sometimes referred to as a callback function. It's very, very common in JavaScript to have callbacks everywhere. It's the way the way the language works is very, very common. It's a very common design pattern. All right, so when the browser comes back, a couple milliseconds later, it says, I got the data. It calls the function and it passes the response to the function. What are we doing? We're just dumping it on the console. Everybody get okay? Right? All right, so what we really want to do is we want to iterate over that response. We know that this is an array of movies, so I'm going to call it movies. Right? I'm going to iterate over the movies for var m in movies, and we can fetch each movie will be movie sub m. This syntax might be weird. M is actually an index. It's not, in other languages you might expect M to be the actual object in the array, but in JavaScript it's not, it's just an index. So that's M is 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's used just as an index to the array movies, right? And we're just retrieving each movie as I iterate over it. And so we can console display each movie. Oh, not movies, movie. So we can look at the console, the actual display. We're displaying each movie. We're printing each movie at a time. But what we really want to do is render it. So to render it, we need to have a placeholder to put it on the user interface. Let's do that. Here we'll render it that's maybe as a table. So let's create a table. Create maybe a t head and a t body. And the t head will have maybe a table row where we have maybe a th where we have maybe the poster. Maybe we have the title. Maybe we have the IMDb ID, and we'll have the plot. Okay, right. If we render it again, there's our table, and then we'll have on the t body it'll be the placeholder. We're gonna dynamically generate that to be able to. We want to grab from this document, from this HTML document. We want to grab that t body. We want to query this document as if it were a piece of data, right? And we want to retrieve that t body. So let's do that. So from jQuery We can grab the t-body, jQuery. Typing 6 letters is too long, so instead we can just use $. $sign is an alias to jQuery. So we developers are too lazy. So we can use this $sign instead. So jQuery, what allows you to do is query the document. That's why it's called jQuery. Just like you have a select statement, and you can provide a where clause, right? Where the where clause is a predicate, right? So that any document, any record that matches the predicate is returned in the select statement. Here, you provide a predicate in a quotation, right? But instead of using SQL where clauses for the predicate, here we use another language, right? It's a CSS language, right? Cascade Style Sheet language. Anything that matches the following CSS rule: t-body. T-body is the name of an element. There's only one of them, so it will only match that one t-body element. Yes? Right? So it returns that element. Now we have a variable reference to that element in the document. Everybody good? All right. All right. So let's do it. What do we do with the movies? We're going to create a whole bunch of elements. We're going to create a table row. For every movie, we're going to create a brand new table row. So again, the $sign allows you to dynamically generate the elements on the fly. We want to generate a TR. So here's the quotation here is not a CSS rule, is an actual element. So jQuery is pretty smart. If it sees a CSS, it interprets it as CSS. If you give it HTML, it'll interpret it as HTML. It's a very smart library. All right, so we've generated a dynamic TR. We'll also generate a dynamic TD. And we're going to add to that TD. To that TD, we're going to append. So this object is not just a dumb TD. It's a jQuery TD, right? So it has all the native capabilities of a dumb TD, right? That you would expect as in just plain old JavaScript. But it augments the API by adding things such as append. Append allows you to append movie dot. So the first TD should contain what? The poster. Right, so we'll do movie dot poster. And actually, once we have that, we want to append the TD to the TR. So TR dot append the TD. So we're going to create a TD, append it to the TR. Create another TD, append it to the TR. Create another TD, append it to the TR. Make sense? So we'll do this several times. We'll do it several times. These 3 lines, we're going to do it several times. We're going to create another TD, and then append the title, and then append it to the TR. Yes? So we're going to do this again, another 2 times. So the poster, the title, what else? The IMDb ID, and the plot. So now we have the entire TR has 4 TDs appended to it. It's not yet part of the document. We haven't put it in the document. Not until we do a tbody.append, because tbody is in the document. Right? That is in the document already. And we're going to append to the existing tbody, we're going to append this brand new TR we just created. Yes? Right? All right, so let's try it out. And it died. Oh no. Tbody. Did I misspell it? Tbody. Oh, tbody. Thank you. Tbody. I hate computers. They always take everything so literally. There we go. So those are the two movies that we got from the database, right? that we retrieved, and we dynamically iterate over it, and we display it on the movies. Okay, this looks awful. Let's make it just a little bit prettier.